What's going on, Cashflow Hackers? It's Chris. I'm here with my buddy Dominic, Robbie. We just got done doing an interview. It was about a half hour long. It was awesome. If you are curious about infinite banking and cryptocurrency, what's going on with the dollar, what's going on with the world economy, this guy, I mean, I didn't even know, when I started the conversation, I didn't even know how tapped in this guy was to the crypto markets. So this is a must watch. Go through it, check it out, learn it. And if you have any comments, comment at the end. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell that we are notified, and we'll go from there. We'll see you in the video. Hey, what's going on, Cashflow Hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and I am here with Dominic, Robbie. I got that right?
You got it right,
good.
buddy. Yeah.
So I'm here with Dominic, and this is gonna be fun. I'm at Funnel Hacking Live, as I've been for the past couple videos, I think. And you know what? I'm meeting all sorts of cool people. I was just introduced to this guy. We started talking. We're kindred spirits. We're speaking the same language, and I was like, man, I need to get you on the channel because this is awesome. And so Dominic does crypto investing.
Yes.
And you know, I talk a lot about stuff on this channel with infinite banking, and and we were talking about this, we'll get there, but about the importance of understanding that infinite banking is not the investment, it just makes the investments better, right? And I talk about utilizing real estate, investing, business, crypto, all this stuff, but I've never really had a deep dive with a crypto guy on the channel. So this is gonna be fun. So
I'm excited.
Full transparency, like I don't even know what's gonna come out of here. So first of all, thanks for being here. I'm glad
we got connected, man.
Yeah,
this is awesome,
me too.
Chris.
It's the power of networks in a place like this.
Yeah, man. Super excited.
One of the things we were just talking about before I went live, one of the most powerful things about these environments and events and coming to places is that everything is so condensed, right?
Yep.
It happened, like things happen so much faster.
Magically.
Yep.
It's just like all the different connections that are possible inside of an environment with such condensed or, you know, I guess consolidated, you know, people that are in this industry.
Yep,
you know?
totally.
Yeah, it's great.
So do me a favor, talk to me, like, what do you do? Why, like, what got you into it? Why do you do what you do? Like, why are you so passionate about it? Because like, that's the one thing I will say that I was pulling out of you is like, this guy loves it and believes in it, is passionate about it. So.
No question. Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So I actually used to be a pharmacist. So completely unrelated to crypto. And then a good friend of mine in 2012 had mentioned to me Bitcoin. And I remember it being around $30 at the time, right? And at that time, I couldn't quite comprehend it. I didn't understand. It didn't seem real to me. And you know, he had mentioned, you know, it's like, oh, you can't really understand it based on the existing paradigm. You got to use a new paradigm to understand it. So I couldn't understand it at that time. Then 2 years later, and it's kind of like, if one person goes to tell you to watch a movie, maybe you give it some credence, but if two people go to tell you to watch the same movie, you're like, okay, I'm going to watch the movie.
And then when 100 people tell you.
Exactly. And so now I had a very good second friend of mine tell me, Dominic, you need to go buy some crypto. This is 2014 at the time. So Bitcoin had gone from $30 to $600 in 2 years, right? And I'm like, okay, this caught my reticular activating system. Now I'm paying attention to it. So I proceeded to purchase it. And then over the next month and a half, I believe, the price dropped from 600 to 200, and I just wrote it off as another failed investment.
Okay. All right.
So by and large, forgot about it. 2.5 years go by, and now I'm you know, looking at my Facebook feed in early 2017 and seeing Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that.
2,600 a coin.
2,300, 2,600, and I'm like, I think I have some of that. And I had to go back to my computer. I had to ask an old friend, my friend. Do I still have some of this? So he, long story short, he helps me find it. And then from that point forward, I didn't understand crypto. So I needed to understand it. And I felt like the seismic shift that was going on underneath my feet, right? Something seismic was happening. I heard about it at $30. I bought it when it was 600. Now it's 23, 2,600. Something's going on and I don't understand what. So 10 minutes a day of research turned into an hour a day. By the end of that year, I had made this, I had made this realization that there was no greater financial opportunity in my lifetime than the wealth transfer that was going to be afforded to me by crypto. And so at that point, we decided, a couple partners and I decided that we're going to host a conference company because if you want to meet the people on the inside of the ecosystem, then form a conference, bring them to you.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so we did that. We created a conference company called World Crypticon. It was in World Crypticon.
World Crypticon.
Yeah, so it was in Las Vegas on the Strip. Now, at the time, we didn't know.
I think I've actually heard of it.
You probably have, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was you. You could have told me that before we started.
We sold 4,000 tickets over 2 years and had about 250 of the top thought leaders in the ecosystem over 2 years.
That's
Vegas
amazing.
Blockchain Week. We had the first world's first crypto poker tournament where we had poker stars and crypto stars, and then the prize pool was paid in Bitcoin.
That's amazing.
So it was pretty awesome. And so yes, it's been an exciting ride, man.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So how has it evolved like since then? Because obviously you've been on a ride with it. You've been a kind of a thought leader in the space, I guess. You know, you've been at least pulling people together in this space for a long time now. Well, a long time in crypto years, right?
Yeah,
and
3 years in crypto is like 30 years in another industry.
It's nuts. And so what are you doing now? Like,
Yeah, well, one of the fortunate things about hosting a conference is I was able to connect with some of the top thought leaders in the entire space. Okay. And one of our sponsors the second year came to me, and he just was cut from a different cloth. He was absolutely brilliant. And he had a very interesting understanding of technology and how exponential technologies mature. Okay. And he also understood business. And having both of those disciplines helped him spot early opportunities that other people couldn't spot. Yeah. So he started a hedge fund, and he's generated 85x over the last 4 years, so his returns have been spectacular. It's SEC regulated, all that stuff. Yeah. So he and I partnered up, and we wanted to teach people his model for investing, because what we found is that unfortunately a lot of people are they're led astray by a bunch of YouTubers that don't necessarily have their best interests at heart. You know, they'll get an early token allocation, they'll pump it right to their community, and then they'll dump it on their community. And so that's a model that we don't particularly care for. It doesn't serve the community, and unfortunately most crypto investors are being led astray. And so we wanted to create something for investors to really understand what they're investing in, rather than just to try to get a quick buck. Because this is a long time frame. This is a 10 to 20 year time frame of this wealth transfer. No need to come in and try to make it all in the next couple weeks.
Well, you used a phrase earlier. Crypto is a great asymmetric play, right? Explain that, because I love it, and that's when I try to tell people why I like crypto. I'm not like, I don't know, I'm not all into crypto. Like, I don't live crypto like you live crypto, right? But I believe in the long-term idea of crypto, and I do believe, and I love the idea that it is a great asymmetric bet, right? Like, and so talk about that for me.
Yeah, so unfortunately the human mind can't quite grasp exponential growth very well, right? We think in terms of linear thinking. We don't think in terms of exponential progress or thinking, right? You know, the whole penny doubled over the course of a month, right? You know, but when we take a step, we think of one step and the next step and the next step and the next step, not doubling, right? And so what's going on right now inside of, with regard to crypto is that these networks are growing at an exponential rate. Okay, so therefore all the applications that are being built on top of them are also growing at exponential rates, and we are just now seeing the hockey stick part. Not only that, but what's really interesting that's going on is there's this whole narrative around regulation. A lot of people are talking about regulation and how it's a bad thing. It's actually a great thing, because it's going to bring in trillions of dollars into the ecosystem.
Institutionalized money, more legitimate money. It's going to legitimize the industry.
Yes, correct. And for the first time in history, really, the little guy has a leg up on the big guy. Okay? If you think about it, ordinarily in the past, if you wanted to invest in Amazon pre-IPO, you had to be a credit investor and you had to know someone who knew someone, right? In crypto, you don't need that. You don't need to be a credit investor. You can have $100 to your name, but you could know something that no one else knows and have asymmetric knowledge, because you can't have asymmetric opportunity without asymmetric knowledge. If you don't have the asymmetric knowledge, you're just gambling. So crypto affords you that opportunity. Okay, and so that's what we love about it, is because anybody can play in the game. Anybody that can set up a MetaMask wallet and has a few $100 to spend can invest on the same stuff that I'm investing in. Right? It's amazing. So that's the asymmetry. Yep.
So what I talk about, like I started with, is like leveraging infinite banking policies to invest.
Yep.
Talking about investor behavior, right? With where we are right now, look at like. I mean, we haven't talked about this yet, but I bet we're on the same page. Like with all the political risk, the inflation risk, the dollar risks, right? I mean, I think a lot of people are concerned about the loss of our status as a world reserve currency, right?
No question.
I mean, and I think it's a legitimate concern. Yeah. And so when you say the word asymmetric bet, to me, I look at it from the perspective like Bitcoin, and I'll just speak to Bitcoin specifically because I'm not a crypto expert. I don't know all the different coins and like whatever, but I do believe Bitcoin specifically, is an opportunity to both be an investment in an alternative kind of way and kind of an alternative to gold, which is a hedge against inflation, a hedge against the dollar risk, all at the same time. And so as an asymmetric bet, like the big risk in the world right now is if you have $1 million net worth and the dollar loses its purchasing power because it's inflated away, or we lose the world's reserve currency, so now all of a sudden we become a second tier currency, or something of that nature happens, and that will have a dramatic impact on the quality of life for people in America that I don't think people realize, right?
No.
And then with that, like the cool part about Bitcoin is that, and the asymmetric bet is, if you have 5%, and the rest of the world comes down 50%, chances are Bitcoin's going to go up more. That 5% will go up in more of a way. So I talk about control and leverage, and that's what infinite banking is all about, right? So
absolutely. It's almost like, in that regard, you're almost using it as a hedge.
Yeah.
Okay? You're using it as a hedge against inflation. Now, a lot of people are talking about Bitcoin as this inflation hedge. And to a degree it is, and to a degree it's not.
Sure.
Okay. There are times when we saw Bitcoin sell off, right?
Sure.
During the global financial crisis, with COVID,
sure.
and more recently this last year. So things are non-correlated until they're correlated, right? So there are times with maximum pessimism when everything gets sold off and for the U.S. Treasuries.
That's the cycles of everything.
Cycles of everything.
Period.
But by and large, you'll see over time, on a long enough time frame, you'll see Bitcoin non-correlated to other financial assets, right? Yeah. Which can then function as a hedge asset, okay, to your point. So I love Bitcoin, big fan of Bitcoin. One other thing I'd like to say about that, because the United States losing its global reserve currency status is a potentiality. In fact, I want to share this story if I may.
Please.
A couple months ago, I met a gentleman who's a businessman in Argentina. Okay, and we all know what's going, well, maybe we don't know what's going on in Argentina, but Argentina effectively has 50% inflation right now. Okay, a lot of people in the United States think that that's not possible here. Okay, I can tell you it's more than possible. It's less likely, but it's more than possible.
Sure.
So just to give you guys an idea on what he's experiencing, they have what's called capital controls in that country. Meaning that you can't take your currency out of the country without paying a 75% tax.
What?
75% tax. He wants to buy a U.S. good with his credit card. It's a 75% tax right off the bat. Beyond the inflation rate. So so he told me in confidence, his business generated $2.2 million in U.S. dollars last year, equivalent. Okay, it's worth 1.1 right now, and he can't get it out of the country.
Wow.
He can't get it out of the country, otherwise he pays a 75% tax. Okay? So those of us in the United States,
it worth just moving.
Correct.
But his business elsewhere.
Correct. But the challenge is his business is there and it is somewhat of a brick and mortar. I don't want to go into the details of exactly what he does to give up his identity and whatnot.
Totally.
But so we take for advantage here in the United States, a stable currency. And yes, we do have a stable currency compared to other currencies, right? But there's even more stable currencies, stores of value, that are not fiat currencies, and that's why we love crypto so much. It's also a philosophy and a thesis that we believe that over the next 10 to 20 years, every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity will become digitized. It will live on a blockchain. And what that's going to do to the velocity of money is going to be to an order we've never seen in our lifetimes.
I agree. So I got to ask, what are your opinions of the USDC?
Yeah, so USDC meaning USDC coin, which is a stable coin, right? It's necessary for for all of these different assets coming into the space, because you do need a stable store of value, and everybody denominates everything in US dollars anyhow, right? And all USDC is, it's a digital dollar. Okay, it's not a CBDC. There's a lot of talk about.
So what's your opinion on CBDC?
So I personally don't think a CBDC is going to occur in the United States, and I have reasons to believe that. I have close connections to some people that are in high-ranking positions in both the U.S. government and in certain different institutions.
Yeah, so you're not overly.
I'm not concerned about a CBDC. Now, what we think is going to happen is that the Stablecoin Act will come out, be passed probably sometime within this next 12 months. It's got bipartisan support. When that happens, banks will be able to issue stablecoins. In other words, you'll be able to go into your Wells Fargo app, this is the way we anticipate that's going to happen, and there'll be a button there, and you can literally go from analog dollar to digital dollar or stablecoin.
So you think it's all going to just weave together?
It's going to weave together to the point where there will no longer be an analog dollar.
Interesting.
It'll be a digital dollar.
That's almost scary at the same time.
It's scary, however, it's like I said, inherent in the opportunity is also the risk, right?
Yeah.
So there's a surveillance aspect and all that kind of stuff.
Big time.
But surveillance is more I'm more concerned about the surveillance aspect if a CBDC were to occur. I don't see a CBDC occurring. So I don't see the surveillance aspect being as big of an issue as it could be, like with what China's doing, right? China's more so wanting to surveil their citizenry and all that stuff. I don't see that happening in the United States. I think what's going to happen in the United States now understands that the technological adoption that's going on here, and we want to foster much of that innovation.
Got it.
Now, who knows, they could end up regulating. That's possible. We'll just see how that game plays. Regardless, that's not going to detract from the opportunity. Right. The opportunity is massive.
Yeah. No, that's so talk to me, like, I got to go here because that's what this channel's all about. I'm going to pivot a little bit.
Let's do it.
You mentioned when we started talking, you do infinite banking.
For 14 years? 13, 14 years.
So talk to me about your perspective. I talk about this all the time, but people are sick of hearing me talk about it. I want to hear your perspective on how infinite banking can help crypto investors.
Well, it's funny you mention that, because how I've been doing this ever since I started investing in crypto is I use my infinite banking policies, I borrow against them to then purchase additional assets.
Good use of language, by the way. You don't borrow from them, you borrow against them. So good job. I
borrow against the collateral, and then it allows me to gain the network effect of crypto and accelerate that growth, and then still have the savings account that is my infinite banking policy
without ever interrupting the compounding of that money at the same time.
I love it. It's performed awfully well over the last 12 to 14 years.
So with all your investing that you personally do, people that you have mentored investing, people that you guys mentored with the trading side of things and all the different programs, this is a thing, right? Like,
absolutely. It's something I personally do, obviously, and it's something that, for a lot of people, and I'm glad that what you're doing is you're educating people on this, because a lot of people don't quite understand the whole infinite banking concept, right? And there's a lot of misinformation out there, right? So being able to sort through all that misinformation and understand what it truly is, and it's like an accelerated saving account, it's great. And BASF, I love your analogy, it's great, man. It's fantastic.
So let me ask you, I got a theory.
Okay.
And I'm curious to hear your perspective, because you're really tied into the crypto space, and you're obviously as educated, if not more educated, on like the potential of the dollar in the crypto space than I am, right? Like, and you've done more crypto backing than I have, or research than I have. I love whole life insurance as a savings alternative, like a place to store our liquid accessible capital. And the reason I love it, and a lot of people that don't love it, I've been getting a lot lately about like, it's still dollars, and the dollar's going to crap, like whatever, right? And so I've been getting that, but my response to that is like, listen, the most elite people in the world have their money here, right?
Yeah.
Like when the Federal Reserve Act was created in 1913, JP Morgan and all his banking cronies created a banking system for you to put your money in. Banks are the largest owners of whole life insurance in the world. They keep their money there. All these guys have their money in whole life still. That's why all the tax advantages exist the way they do today, is because the people that created the banking system needed those advantages to be there.
Right.
Whole life insurance companies have been around since the early 1840s. They've gone through 3 different versions of the dollar. Depression after depression, war after war, recession after recession. They've always paid a dividend. And my belief is because the elite of the elite have their money here, if the dollar takes a dive, people don't realize right now whole life policies are connected to the US dollar. But if I'm going to keep my money somewhere, I don't want it in an FDIC insured thing. I want it in a place where all the most successful people in the world have their money, because the insurance company, while it right now is denominated in US dollars, they could pivot to crypto, they could pivot to other bonds, they could pivot to whatever happens, and I'm going to trust them and their billions and billions and billions of dollars to do that way better than I'm going to do that on my own.
I completely agree. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. In fact, I keep very little cash in my bank account.
Yeah.
Very little.
Yeah.
In fact, I consider my savings account my whole life policies.
Yep.
Right? When I need to tap them, I tap them.
Yep.
And it's there for me, right? And I just got to deal with the 1 or 2 week delay until I get my check, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that'd be the only thing only gripe I would have is let's modernize that process a little bit.
And they're working on that, by the way.
Yeah. Yep. So, but other than that, I think it to hold your cash in a bank account, other than what your monthly or your bi-monthly living expenses require, exactly. It doesn't make a lot of sense to hold your assets there, right?
Agreed.
So I'm more so a fan because I'm going to gain a higher rate of interest, right? And again, here we're talking about 8.1% inflation, CPI, right? Just the most recent numbers, or 8% or whatever it was. You're getting eroded by inflation. Now, let me say one other thing. I don't believe that the dollar dies by weakness. Okay. I believe that the dollar will die by strength.
You do?
So
the rest of the world.
I don't believe the whole hyperinflationary argument.
Okay.
Right? Because we actually, if we understand the monetary system, we actually create dollars. Okay.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve essentially creates reserves, and it provides reserves for banks. Of those reserves, when you and I go out and actually get a loan, we create money. Yeah. We create money when we take that car loan, when we take that mortgage, right? Wow. So if the demand for that falls and the psychology of the citizenry contracts, right? Yeah. Then that stymies credit creation. I love it. Right? So you have this whole thing that there's a lot of stuff out there, like hyperinflation this, hyperinflation that. Being the world reserve currency, less likely to happen. Okay, so I think, however, if the dollar does collapse, it'll do it through strength, because a strong dollar is not good for the world economy.
Which is typically what's happening right now.
And that's happening right now. We're seeing the DXY go through the roof, and other countries. Look, like everyone says, oh, now is a good time to travel to the EU, right? Because the dollar is so much stronger than the euro, right? Yeah. Well, that's not exactly good for the euro, right? It's
not good for the rest of the world.
It's not good for the rest of the world.
Us, but it turns the whole world economy upside down, basically, right?
Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah. So you're more in alignment with Harry Dent than you are Peter Schiff.
I would say there's a gentleman by the name of Brent Johnson that talks about the dollar milkshake theory.
Oh yeah,
I'm probably more in alignment with his thesis.
Okay.
Yeah, than Peter Schiff. And Peter Schiff, he's had his. I love Peter because he's had that argument for 20 years, and he hasn't deviated from that argument. So I appreciate that, but I just don't see that happening.
Okay. Yeah. All right, that's awesome. Well, is there anything else that we think we missed? I mean, this has been great.
Chris, this has been great.
I got to have you back on too.
Yeah, man, would love to.
And guys, the only thing I want to say is I apologize for the background noise. We set up, this conference got let out, and literally like 3,000 herd of people just went walking by. So if it was noisy, thank you for bearing with it, but hopefully the microphones did a good job. They normally do. So that's it. But if you have any comments at all, comment in the comment section below. Are you on YouTube?
Not yet. You can go to our website, redwoodscrypto.com. Okay. That's our website.
I'll put the link in the description below. Go check them out if you want to do any of that, and we'll go from there. Until next video, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll talk soon. See ya.
Thank you.